a few things that I loved about Grandpa Pete was our mutual love of tie-dye. I loved his inviting smile and his fun-filled personality, laid-back personality. He didn't get riled up much. And I loved my most memorable moments with him was spending time at the ball field while he umped games for church ball every Wednesday night and eating Fruit Loop shakes and fries from Big J's. So those are things that I loved most about him.
My favorite thing about Grandpa is how kind he was. I always remember his smile. And he was loving and accepting of everyone. And I loved our trips that we had to San Francisco and to Jackson Hole. He was always up for doing something fun with us kids, and I always felt loved from him.
Grandpa Pete was a hard worker, and I remember how hard he worked. I remember watching him working in different houses and how fun it was to go to the construction sites. But my best memory is getting to pick out a t-shirt when we went to Grandma and Grandpa's to spend the night, because Grandpa always had the softest t-shirts.
It's always fun taking rides with Grandpa in his little red truck.
My grandpa came and visited me when I was a baby in Texas.
Favorite memory of Dee was when we went to Jackson and the roads were really bad and he was driving super fast and my wife was freaking out and there was like 1 inch to 2 inches of slush on the roads, and we would see animals and I was just thinking to myself that they were blurs all the time because he was driving so fast.
My favorite memory of Grandpa is loading up in the red convertible and running to Big J's, getting shakes and riding with the top down, eating them shakes. So.
When he used to get boxes of orange sticks, and he'd have me come over and eat the orange out of the middle so that he could eat the chocolate, because I don't like chocolate. Or when we used to bicker about the Lakers being better than the Jazz.
One of my favorite memories with Grandpa is when I got to go to Cash Saver with him, and he would let me pick my very own mug that was huge when I was a kid, and they're still big, and he would let me pick out my soda, and so we'd drink it all day long, and we just put them in the fridge and sip on them. Grandpa always had Werthers, so we would always sneak in his truck and get them, and I'm sure he knew, but he didn't care. Grandpa always would blast his stereo when we came over, and one of the songs that he always blasted was The Thunder Rolls, I think by Garth Brooks, and it would scare me, and so every time he would blast it, I remember running home as fast as I could, but I could still hear it because all the doors and windows were usually open, and I would cry and cry and cry, and I'd listen for the music to turn off, and then I would go back there, and he would just laugh, and he thought it was so funny. He always had a music, no, he didn't always have, he had a music thing that when his cell phone rang, like the horn of his truck would play a different song or something, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever because he could be on the roof of the house and still hear his cell phone. So, yeah. Love, miss Grandpa. Okay.
Grandpa, hi. Remember when I played with you at the nursing home? Love you. Love you.
I remember when he was in the nursing home that when we play ball with him, every time he caught the ball, he just had to hang on to it, like we couldn't get it out of his hands. It was just always in his hands.
I have Papa Pete!
Whenever we went to the nursing home, we would play like catch. He would always laugh when I caught a ball.
My favorite memory about Grandpa is when I came in to visit him, and I showed him my Halloween costume.
I remember one time I got caught in the mud, like it rained or something a lot, and I got stuck in the mud going between Sandra and Grandpa's house, and then like I was covered in mud and I like got stuck in it, and my feet, I couldn't get them out, and so Grandpa came and got me in his red truck, took me home, and I had to take off all my clothes, and he had to spray me with the hose. It was really cold. I remember once for his birthday, I was sitting by him when he was opening his presents, and he got all this fancy chocolate, and he wouldn't share with anyone else but me, so I guess that proves I'm his favorite.
Grandpa Pete used to chase me around.
My favorite memory of Grandpa would be me sleeping in their bed until I was 28, 29 years old, and going to town, piling in Grandpa's little truck, all 10 of us grandchildren, and getting Diet Coke and candy bars.
Okay, I remember coming up and spending the night with Grandpa and having a sleepover with all the cousins, and then sometimes when we go swimming, he'd want to spray us off with the hose.
Grandpa Pete was cool.
I remember back when we were little, one of the cool things to get to go and do with Grandpa was they used to have tons of mugs, and we used to go up to the old Chevron up to Premium Oil, and we'd all get fountain drinks. And you knew you were in with Grandpa if he'd taken you up to get a fountain drink.
My favorite memory of me and Grandpa were when 2 years ago during Christmas we did a pink Christmas tree, and Grandma said that he could never have a pink Christmas tree or anything pink, but that was his favorite color. So me and my mom got together with him and decided to decorate it all nice and pink and all colorful, and he just loved it. So the end.
I remember him coming and getting me on his four-wheeler, and he drove up looking all cool and acknowledging life on his little four-wheeler up past Gunbell, all the way up around the mountain. It was the last memory I had of him.
My Grandpa Pete taught me 2 important lessons, among many others. First, he taught me how to teach someone to work. When I was about 6 or 7, he took me to a job site where he had a house to build. He gave me a handful of nails and a hammer. I had never hammered a nail before, but he showed me once or twice and then let me be. And when he came back and found I had ruined all the nails, patiently showed me how to do it and gave me very subtle corrections. Never lost his patience with me, and that's always stayed with me. He showed me also how to support someone you love. When important men weren't always there for me in my life, he was there for me. He came to my track meets, cross-country meets. I remember one particular cross-country meet he came to. It was freezing cold, and you'd only get to see the runners maybe once or twice, but Grandma and Grandpa Pete drove up to watch me, and he was there waiting for me at the finish line, and that meant the world to me. And in addition to those 2 things, what really sticks with me about my Grandpa Pete is he always had the most kind and persistent sense of humor. Thanks. Driving on the road, he would tease me a little bit, and say, if I was giving him directions, and he'd say, "You gave me a bum steer. You gave me a bum steer, Will." And I never really knew what that meant at the time, but he was just always playful and loving, and he'd always let me play with his toys and take the time to share laughter with me, and I'll miss him. I'll really miss him.
My favorite thing about Grandpa was he lived right next door, so he was always there. He took us everywhere. He took us on trips from San Francisco to Jackson Hole to Durango, Colorado. He was always fun to hang out with. He let me work with him, and he taught me a lot.